My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This episode is brought to you by Nerds Gummy Clusters, the sweet treat that always elevates the vibe. With a sweet gummy surrounded with tangy, crunchy nerds, every bite of Nerds Gummy Clusters brings you a whole new world of flavor. Whether it's game night, on the way to a concert, or kicking back with your crew, unleash your senses with Nerds Gummy Clusters.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. If you are a solo practitioner, self-employed, doctor, lawyer, dentist, accountant, and are struggling with brand strategy, brand awareness, I've got Trina Fisher here from Dallas, and she helps individuals in your shoes with brand strategy and especially how to market their websites. I'm really curious about websites versus social media these days, and I'm really happy to have her on the show to pick her brain. So Trina, welcome.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's great to be here.
Yeah, briefly introduce yourself, and I'm excited to dive into the conversation.
Yeah, so I'm Trina Fisher, and I am one of the co-founders of Left Right Labs, and we're an award-winning branding and web agency, and we help thought leaders reinvent their brand, their business, and their life online.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. And what is interesting is you are the creative brand visionary of Left Right Labs.
Yes.
And you are an ENFJ. So how does that help with when you're working with clients? How did those skills and experiences help?
Yes, so I definitely think part of the name of Left Right Labs is bringing together the left brain and the right brain, because as a thought leader, you tend to think the way that you're wired. And so we're not always thinking about the different kinds of audience members that might be coming to us. So we're very intentional about always bringing that left-right brain component to the table. And when you're in the lab, you're setting measurables, you're really tracking what you're doing, which is very different from most branding agencies. There's a lot of times people just think it's very subjective. So for me, being an ENFJ, I'm the outgoing, the right brain, the relationship one. And my business partner, Gretchen, is the left brain, very systems driven, engineering, the much quieter one.
Oh, yeah. So the next question I have for you is, because we were talking in the backstage in the green room, and you're talking about, for example, doctors, lawyers, they really don't have time to learn technology. They're really got to focus on their skills, just helping their clients. One thing I have question for you is a website these days and the purpose. And is it better? What is better, a website or social? Because most people are on social media. People go to website, but is it becoming the way like blogs? Talk about difference between website and social media.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people are on social media all the time, so you have to have that presence no matter what. But let's say somebody hears you and they're hearing you speak on social media or on a stage, or maybe they hear you on a podcast. You're sending them somewhere. At the end of the day, all roads are going to lead back to a website, right? There's got to be a place for them to book an appointment with you to learn more about your packages or your services. So it's one of those things that it's funny you bring it up, because websites have been forgotten so much. We're spending all our time and our energy on social media and public speaking and all of that. But then when someone hears you and they're so excited about what you offer, and then they go to this crusty old website, are they really going to trust that you can deliver on what you're teaching them? So it's really important to think about all those different aspects of your brand and how they fit together. They're all part of a funnel.
Yeah, it's quite, because for example, like my website is monetized, but I'm like, when you compare it to social media and the reach that social media has, it's like social media reach is like tremendous so I was just curious, because you were saying like doctors and lawyers, they don't know how to use websites. And so I was just curious, our website's going to become obsolete? But
I really don't see that happening. I think that really depends on the business model. If you're someone where you're doing most of your selling through DMs and you can do that because it's more based on consulting, that's great. And that might be the model that works for you, and you might not need a website. But for somebody who is a practitioner or a professional that has various different packages and ways that you're helping support your clients, that's when a website's really important for them to go and see and build that extra layer of trust. So it's a both and depends on your industry.
Yeah. Here's an interesting question because I think probably 99% of guests I've talked to, coaches or whatever, marketers, they always say your client avatar, your ideal client. Who is your ideal client? But you're talking about why starting with an ideal client is a bad idea. So why is it?
Yes, that's a great point. Your ideal client is important. So I'm not denying that. But especially if you're a professional who's been in business for 8, 10 years, you need to get back to thinking about what do you want to do first? Are the things that you're getting up and doing every day actually things that light you up, that you're excited to get out there and deliver on? When you're thinking about your brand and your business overall, it needs to start with you and what you're passionate about. Because otherwise, what happens is we think just about the ideal client. And then we get into this mode where we start to dislike what we've offered and we grumble anytime they're asking for that service. Guess what? You're the one that put it on your website. So if you don't like it, you get to change it. So we really encourage our clients to stop and think about what is it that you're excited to do today, and then consider who's the ideal client that needs what you actually love to do. So you're not running into the burnout and the frustration that you get otherwise.
Interesting. I just got off another podcast and he was talking about there was this question because like a personal brand it takes years and sometimes you may not see good ROI. But then, for example, if you start a business like that fulfills a need, but not based on a personal brand, you can get a ROI very quickly. So when should someone listening to this podcast think about like just starting a business, filling a need? It may not be related to whatever, but they just need to, get that money versus a personal brand. How do you determine that?
Yeah, I would definitely say if you're in a place where you are just looking to make fast income, then if you're wanting to do that with a personal brand, you better have immediate products, affiliate programs, things like that that you can help pitch and post about, especially if you can do that in a way where you're referring to a well-established company and you're getting affiliate referrals through something like that. That's a great way to start to make immediate cash and to borrow the authority of an existing company. But if you're wanting to build a personal brand for yourself and you're willing to put the time into it, that's really good, especially if you're in the professional space. Maybe you are a doctor or a lawyer or a financial advisor even. People might tend to think about, oh, just the big company names around that, but you're the person who has all the knowledge and expertise. So if you can build that as a personal brand, people connect person to person first and not person to company. Like I might like the company, I might like the vibe of this company, but I'm still building a relationship by actually connecting with a human there.
Yeah.
So, the best is when you can overlap the two and really put a face to the business that lets people connect much faster.
Yeah. One thing that I've recently noticed is that just there's a sea of influencers, thought leaders, creators, and they're all launching, getting on podcasts and generating buzz and getting clients and charging sometimes tens of thousands. And then, but like when you really dig deep down into it, like some of these, they don't last because it's just all fluff.
Yeah.
So what are the secrets to creating a brand that lasts?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, you really have to think about building this brand, first of all, for the things that you love, as I mentioned, but then also that it's really serving an audience that is ready to take a next step with you. So when you think about the order that you should build a brand in and how to make it last, you really want to start by getting clear first. Getting clear on your business, on what you're passionate about, on that business model, what you want to put out into the world. And then you really want to think about getting noticed. Okay, now that I know who I am and what I stand for and how I want to serve people, then let's think about how to get noticed and get in front of people. That's going to include your visual brand, your website, maybe what you're doing on your social media. And then you're really thinking about, okay, how do I get paid? And that's that component of what are the products I'm offering? Are there any funnels that I need to clean up and tune in? And when you think about that and you start to kind of cycle through those pieces of your brand, that allows you to have a brand foundation that's going to grow with you. especially that getting clear part first, the brand strategy, really having that foundation that you know who you are and what your brand personality is, the problems that you solve, the people that you want to support. And then that really unlocks what are the marketing channels that make the most sense for you to move on. So when you can grow in that way, and then you keep going through and reviewing, okay, I'm clear right now. What am I doing to get noticed? What am I doing to get paid? And over the years, you just keep reevaluating those areas of your business. And that's how you build that brand foundation that lasts with you and that grows with you.
Interesting. Another question or another thing that I see quite frequently is, everybody's starting a YouTube channel or a podcast or a blog, a newsletter. And the thing I see consistently is, oh, we're going through a rebrand. Oh, we're going through a rebrand. Is this kind of like becoming a cliche, or when is the right time to rebrand?
That's a really good question. When is the right time to rebrand? A lot of people are scared of rebranding because there's a lot of pieces that go into it. I would say, when it's time to rebrand, when maybe your reputation doesn't align with what people think of you. So how I mentioned before, if you're speaking from stage and people think you're offering one thing, and then they go to your website and they're like, none of this matches up, then honey, you better rebrand. If maybe you're in a place where you're not even looking for a rebrand, but you're looking for a refresh. Maybe a little bit of your message has changed or the products that you want to offer have changed. Then that's a good time to be asking the question, do I need to upgrade where I'm at? Do people look at me and my authority and assume one thing? And then when they go to take the next step, it just is a total mismatch. So it's really about what's your current reputation. And that's what branding is. Branding is all about your reputation. So it's about what people say about you when you're not in the room. So it's the trust you've created, the quality of your products and services, your customer reputation. So if that has fallen, if it's gotten dusty, then it's time for a rebrand, right? We have a client he's a former Olympic athlete and he now trains NFL pros and other Olympic athletes. And he sells supplements along with the training he does. And he came to us and he said, ladies, my brand is dusty. If someone goes to my website, they think that these supplements are made in my garage instead of a GMP certified facility. Okay, that's a perfect example. When people meet you and they know how brilliant you are and what your track record is, but they go to use your product and they're like, I don't know if I should touch that. That's a great sign that it's time to rebrand. Or maybe you're just feeling overwhelmed and confused and you don't know how to market yourself anymore. That's usually another really good indication that it's time to reevaluate your brand and your messaging and look at the shifts that you should be making.
Yeah. Yeah. The other question is just, what are some of the biggest mistakes businesses make when developing or reinventing their brand?
Yeah, I would say that thinking too much about yourself in that context of what information should go on the website. What is the information how are your offers put together? Is the offer created in a way that you understand? If we go back to that idea of left brain versus right brain, let's take my instance. I'm very right brained, right? If I am creating packages that are only soupy emotional words and all about feeling, but I'm not actually putting in there, hey, guess what? I have a real protocol for this. I have a step-by-step process. I have proof. Here's the case studies of the people I've served. If I'm all in on one side but not the other, then people aren't going to want to move forward. And so that's when it makes it really hard for people to be able to take that next step. So that is definitely something to be considering.
Interesting. How does storytelling enhance a brand's presence, and what elements make for an impactful brand narrative?
Storytelling is it's what makes you relatable. It's what makes people go, okay, are you just putting something into Chat GPT and regurgitating what they told you? Or can you show me actual proof? Like I just used a story a moment ago about a client that came and said, my brand is dusty. So those aren't words that we made up, right? That's something that someone's actually said to us. And storytelling will not only allow you to share big ideas, but it also lets people connect to you. So whether they're left brain or right brain, they want to know, why did you create this business to begin with? Why are you actually passionate about it? And that will go so much further in helping sell for you than anything else. And it's really that kind of human connection and being able to build that trust relatably.
Oh, speak about AI and emerging tech trends. How is this technology evolving in terms of the brand space? What should businesses be focusing on for the future?
Yeah, I think AI is one of those things that it can help you or hurt you. You just have to make sure you're using it the right way, right? So it's about leveraging AI. If you're really clear on your brand strategy, if you know who you are, what your brand personality is, how you want to show up, then the beautiful thing is you can take all that information and then feed that to whatever your favorite AI tools are. You have to train it on who you are and how you show up and what your brand voice is. So if you're using it in a way where it is just fresh out of the box and you haven't taught it anything about you, then it's actually going to really harm your brand. But if you're using it in a way where you're training it to speak like you, let's say you've written a book, download a PDF of your entire book and feed that to your AI. If you have a long history of writing blogs or research papers, download those, feed that to AI. Think about the questions that your clients are asking you. All of that you can feed into your AI to really help it think like you and have your knowledge base, then it's going to help your business. But if you're just turning into something really generic and starting to sound the same as everyone else, if you're selling in DMs using AI bots and those types of things, just make sure that you're training it to be able to answer questions the way you would. Otherwise, your clients are going to feel like they're talking to a bot, and that's not what you want.
Interesting. We have a couple remaining minutes. And so we talked about this idea of like website versus social media and talking about monetize versus building a personal brand. And how does branding differ from thought leaders and coaches and influencers versus traditional businesses?
Yes, I think it's really in the voice of the brand. That's the biggest place to dial that in. If you are somebody who is more of a thought leader, a solopreneur, a speaker, that is all about you and your exact voice. If it is about a company brand, then it's really showing like how does your whole team show up for them? How does your whole ecosystem of your business have this real brand personality? How is it created to serve people in a bigger way? So it's about the nuance of identifying you as an individual or that your whole company stands for something powerful. And so it's going between those two and finding that balance for the audience that you serve.
Hmm. How can people find out more about you and learn more about you?
Absolutely. You can go to leftrightlabs.com, spelled just the way it sounds, leftrightlabs.com. You're welcome to book a call with me there if you want to get to know more. I'm happy to learn about you and your brand and where you're at. You can also follow us at Left Right Labs on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Take your pick. We're there. We love to connect. And we also put out a weekly show on YouTube where you can catch more of our brand insights and what's happening in real time.
Excellent. Thanks so much for coming on, and it really add value to the audience.
Yes, thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.